all of your fucking warrior cultures had very gay shit going on as part of it. It was just like, so the fact that they're like, that somehow, and that's what I meant by it being on brand in a way, is that if you go back far enough, hypermasculinity was gay as fuck.
Thank you so much for being with us today. This is the Deviance Welcome Podcast, brought to you by Volatile Patients. I'm John, and with me, as always, my co-host, Cell. Say hi to the people, Cell.
Hi, the people.
Fantastic. So did you hear that Tucker Carlson wants tan balls for every man?
What?
Yeah, Tucker Carlson wants tan balls for every man.
Is he a nudist now?
No. He thinks that there is an overwhelming loss of testosterone lately, which there is, but science has proven it to be something else. But, good old Tucker Carlson has to assume that this is because of the wussification of America and inclusion, and I'm sure trans rights.
And soy products. And
right, yeah, we're all soy boys now and shit like that.
Sure.
But
what does this have to do with tan balls?
So, Tucker Carlson has a new documentary coming out.
Okay.
The release date has not been released yet, as far as I understand.
Okay.
But I've seen a trailer, and oh my God, the trailer. After suffering through the trailer, I can't make it to the documentary, so don't ask me to.
Okay.
Please, audience, if you want us to do one on that, that's fine, but you got to pay me. You got to throw me some cash.
We will start getting the Patreon going.
No joke. If that's what you want, I will do it for you, but you got to pay for it. God. But one of the things that they have, and I'm gonna paraphrase some other descriptions that I saw for this because they're just so good. But Tucker Carlson's documentary trailer it's for a documentary called The End of Men.
Okay.
And this trailer is chock full of like sweaty, shirtless dudes.
Okay.
That are like wrestling with each other and chopping wood and shooting guns.
Okay.
And all this stuff that Tucker Carlson,
like
imagine.
Really bright colors and soft focus.
Yeah, like it's real homoerotic, dude. George Takei saw that shit and immediately was like, that is so gay. And I watched it and I'm like, you know what? You're right. It could be gay softcore porn.
I mean,
and like
I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit later, but that's actually like kind of on brand in a way.
I guess
we'll get to it. I'll flesh that out later.
Save that one for a minute.
Yeah.
But to this testicle tanning thing, there is at the end of the trailer, I think it's like the last frame you see a naked man standing on like a mountaintop. Like imagine the position of Cristo in Brazil.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of standing up there like Cristo.
Okay.
And it looks like he has like a charging station for an electric car.
Okay.
In front of him, and it's just like putting this like bright yellow UV light on his balls, on his testicles.
Okay.
Tanning the testicles.
Okay.
Tucker Carlson has been promoting this idea that tanning your testicles increases your testosterone.
What?
I feel like that just makes your balls more brown. But okay. Like he tried to get Kid Rock to do this, and even Kid Rock was like, nope. I mean, why don't you go ahead and process that for a second? We're gonna get some real time reaction.
Like, okay, so, all right. I know the answer to this is almost certainly no, because we're talking about Tuck, right? But like, is there anything close to science, like, resembling promoting this idea? Like, I'm sure to whatever extent that there might be, it's a massive misinterpretation that is twisted into some bizarre fucking, like, the outcome being tan your balls to increase testosterone. Yeah. But like, is there even that?
Not as far as I saw.
Okay.
No. There is a scientific
So this guy just like wants to fucking like cook his balls under a UV light.
Apparently.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, you know what? Get testicular cancer if you want. That's on you. As far as I'm concerned, as far as I had seen,
Or not even testicular cancer, but skin cancer
right?
on your scrot.
Well, like, the whole premise behind this documentary, The End of Men, is to say that, there's this overwhelming testosterone drop and men aren't men anymore. And, he's attributing it to all the things we've lost because of woke culture and all this shit. Well, I'm assuming. Because
sure.
Tucker Carlson, right?
Sure.
Like, it's a fair assumption.
Right.
But yeah, there's no science behind that. As far as I know,
I mean,
tanning your testicles does not make you does not increase your testosterone. If anything, it seems awfully metrosexual to me. Like
as far as the science of this stuff goes, as far as what I know, there has been this like long-standing like, I don't know if it was concern or just kind of like that's a thing that's happening, but like the Y chromosome is shrinking over generations, but like nobody really knows if that is actually having any kind of an impact on anything, or if it's just like evolution, is just cutting out some of the junk that the Y chromosome doesn't need.
Right.
So like, because
the Y chromosome is deciding that men are allowed to cry and it's perfectly okay.
Sure.
They're like, all right, we're done. You're done getting to try to decide this on your own. We're doing it for you. Y'all are stupid. You need us to step in.
We are doing biological determinism from the perspective of the Y chromosome.
We're not even going to give you the choice anymore. Just the Y chromosome's like, here, evolve, bitch. But like, as long as I remember, we've had the theory of alpha and beta males, and now we have sigma males, which I always thought was really dumb because it is tied to a study of like wolf packs and how they socialize.
Not even wolf packs, but like random ass wolves thrown together in a fucking cage,
right?
Basically, and then how they behaved, not how wolves behave in nature.
Right. It was assuming that, the alpha male leads the pack and the beta males all follow and blah, 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 blah. That study was even like discredited in terms of like the alpha and
by
beta
the guy
thing.
who did the study.
Right.
Like the dude who did the study was like, no, that was just like, I wasn't paying close enough attention. And like, I really didn't take into account that these were wolves in captivity.
Right.
And then when you actually go out into nature, it's basically like, that's just the dad. Or the granddad, or the grandma, or the ma, or whoever. The oldest fucking wolf in the family, is basically the leader.
Right.
As, most familial structures tend to go, at least until senility kicks in.
I don't know how accurate this meme is, but I saw it and it made sense. It was an overhead shot of a wolf pack, obviously from probably like a helicopter or a drone or something like that.
Sure.
And it was explaining the hierarchy, and it actually said that the oldest wolves are up front so that they set the pace of the pack,
right?
So that the pack sticks together and nobody falls behind,
right?
So like this whole, and we did this alpha beta male thing based off wolves, and the study was like the scientist was like, this is wrong, but we kept it.
We kept it.
Now you got all these guys walking around.
It's part of the cultural zeitgeist now.
I'm an alpha.
I'm alpha as fuck.
Right. Are you familiar with Eliza Schlesinger at all?
Vaguely.
She's a very funny comedian. Check out her stuff on Netflix if you have that. But she has a great quote where she's like, if a guy has to walk up to you and tell you he's an alpha, he's a beta. And you know what? It kind of makes sense. Like if alpha and beta males were really a thing, it makes sense.
Sure.
Like go ahead, overcompensate.
And you know, the thing that's like hilarious to me is I'm like 90% sure this whole like new Sigma male thing
I was just about to get to that.
Is like really just a bunch of anime nerds like getting used to Japanese games having like B tier, A tier, and S tier, with S tier being the top tier, and they just needed a Greek letter
Yeah.
to like kind of do that. So you have a bunch of fucking anime nerds who are like, I'm gonna make up a whole new spot in the hierarchy because I'm definitely not convincingly alpha anyway.
Right. Well, you know what a sigma male is supposed to be, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be somebody who like breaks the hierarchy, isn't it? Or
it's
like
it's an introverted male. Or an introverted alpha. I'm sorry. An introverted alpha.
Sure. Yes.
One that knows he's alpha, but doesn't have to outwardly project that he's alpha.
That sounds so anime nerd.
Apparently, like, John Wick is the example that most people use.
Okay.
As a sigma male.
I really don't feel like John Wick is particularly introverted. Like, he's trying to not be in that world.
Right.
To begin with, right? He was trying to like go normal.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like the fact that he's not trying to fucking hang with those people, but like with the history he has with them, you know, he's in conversations with these people because he clearly has history with these people.
Right.
And he clearly did hang, and he wasn't like necessarily full introvert mode.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I feel like with John Wick, the reason he's, and this is just my theory, but I feel like he's just so quiet because John Wick is efficiency.
Morning.
He is, I feel like he is efficiency. So he, not only does he not take a step, he doesn't have to. He's not going to say any words. He doesn't have to.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that's just John Wick's whole thing.
Because he's on a mission now.
Right.
Yeah.
He is only what I need to.
Right.
And that will be that.
Right.
But you're right. I mean, he's not really, I wouldn't classify him as introverted.
Right.
He obviously has friends.
Right.
And, you know, in
that world.
in the
that
world
that
he
he
was
was trying to get
leave.
out of. Right.
Right. So I don't know. The alpha, beta, sigma, I feel like it's just, it's silly.
John Wick is just straight up alpha to whatever extent that's a thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
it's not a thing, but if it were a thing,
sure.
there's your alpha.
There's your guy.
Right there. Because John Wick's the man. Keanu Reeves is also the man.
Right.
So,
but Keanu Reeves, you know, like by most of those other conventions I feel like a lot of people would call him beta because he is legitimately kind of like introverted and doesn't really like, you know what I mean? Like
he's not searching out the public eye. And
right.
Like
he's just kind of chilling and doing his thing and fucking right.
Well, he's also like almost 60, I think.
Well, yeah.
Maybe he's more than 60.
That's true.
Oh, goddamn.
That's true.
He's
He is
almost
getting up
as
there.
old as you.
Yeah, you know what?
Almost.
The old guy version of Keanu in fucking Matrix Resurrections.
Didn't see it.
Oh man, he was looking rough.
They probably did it on purpose.
Yeah. It was part of the storyline. It had reasons to be there.
Right. So this whole thing with Tucker claiming that men aren't men anymore, and he's going to make a homoerotic documentary to shock them all back into masculinity. Like it got me thinking about the general idea of masculinity and like the shortest way that I could put it, and I'm thinking of it in terms of the idea that like conservatives are putting forth. I feel like they all just watched 300 and they were like, that's how men should be. No emotion, all fight, all strength, all the time. And I'm like, that's okay.
You
sure.
know, it's ironic that you brought up 300 because like I know in the notes we have some talk later about is masculinity going away or is it just changing? And one of the thoughts that come to mind on reading those notes was it already has.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about 300, you know, ancient Greeks, like, you know, one of the top tiers of Western culture to whatever extent that's a thing, right? Like your Greek
That's your second
philosophers.
time using that in this podcast.
What's that?
To the extent that it's a thing.
Yeah. Your Greek philosophers, the Spartans, fucking samurai, fucking like a whole bunch of your like warrior classes back in the ancient times or the the medieval times or whatever, were like they had like these like gay-ish relationships with their protegés.
Yeah, in 300,
they make the reference to the
Athenian
boy
army,
lovers,
right?
But the Spartans did that too. Like in the real world, the Spartans did that shit too.
Well,
like
that army was
right.
That army. I'm pretty sure it was the Athenian. No, was it the Athenian army? It might have been. Anyway, their friendly army that came to help the ones that were more brawlers
the soldiers.
than anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were gay. A lot of them were in gay relationships, and that's why he called them boy lovers, but they're still hanging out.
Right.
And Spartans did that too.
And in the real world, Spartans did that shit too. And so did samurai, and so did blah blah blah. Like there was so much, prior to basically the spread of Christianity that
Our old friend of the show,
right.
Christianity.
Old friend of the show, Christianity. Right. But before the spread of that, like, all of your fucking warrior cultures had very gay shit going on as part of it. It was just like, so the fact that they're like, that somehow, and that's what I meant by it being on brand in a way, is that if you go back far enough, hypermasculinity was gay as fuck.
Right. But yeah, it does beg the question, like, is masculinity changing? And there's certainly about 50% of our country that doesn't want it to, and as such is going so far the other direction.
Sure.
Right. Just to be contradictory. Like,
right.
No, I will never ever cry in front of anybody. Did you ever see what was it, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
I think so.
I think it was Mr. T
maybe.
that voiced the big giant cop, and he starts to cry once. He says, "You get back up there, tear!" Right, and he sucks the tear.
I don't
back
remember
up into
that
his
part
eye.
at all.
I feel like
but okay,
that's what we're doing.
Sure,
I'm
sure.
seeing an influx of like the testicles that go on the back of the pickup truck.
Sure,
and shit. Like,
sure, right.
Okay,
like,
tell me you're a beta
nuts.
without telling me you're a beta.
I mean,
but I decided this week to take a survey from some of my female friends to get the perspective that I can't offer.
Sure.
And one of the questions I asked was, do you feel like there's a level of overcompensation happening because of all of the tensions surrounding gender dysphoria and it coming to light and things like this?
Sure.
And I mean, I didn't ask all that many. To be fair, the sample size is
sure.
small.
Very small sample size.
Right. But there were quite a few of them that were like, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm sitting here talking to a guy at a party, and he's like, oh, how's the weather today? And he's like, do you know I lift, bro? You know what I mean? Like, I put up 350 today, bro.
Oh, okay.
It's awesome, bro. Do you even lift, bro? And I just, man. And the funny thing is, a lot of that just gets a laughable response.
Sure,
It's like,
because it's fucking...
You think we don't know
like,
what you're doing, but we do.
Right. Yeah. It's so transparent.
The end of men kind of suggests that masculinity is dying. And like you had said, I don't feel like it's dying at all. I feel like it's just evolving.
Yeah. We are past the point where that kind of mentality, like that, ultra warrior type mentality, is useful. Like, it's just not good for us anymore. Right? Like,
as to that point, I feel like it is actually a detriment.
Right. As a fucking planet, it is not useful anymore.
Right.
Like, when the largest polluter in the world is the U.S. military, entirely funded by a bunch of fucking desk jockeys and fucking talking heads on TV who are talking about how ultra masculine they are, vicariously by putting a bunch of money into the U.S. military, we're killing the planet, or at least killing the potential for human what's the word I'm looking for? Habitability on the planet, based off of this like fucking perspective that was useful fucking 500 years ago and isn't anymore.
Right. This is where brawn has got us.
Yeah.
A little harder. The thing about it is, like, those qualities were very useful when you had to go out and kill everything your family ate.
Right.
Right. It was very useful when you were having to deal with animals that were larger than you, when you were wild.
Right.
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 When you were feral.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
when you lived amongst the wild animals where it is legitimately kill or be killed.
Right.
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 We don't do that anymore.
Right.
At least most of us.
Right.
Right. Society evolved.
To whatever extent we still do it is done at like national levels for the most part anyway.
Right. And just like you said, that's, it's
countries
counterproductive.
going to war with each other.
Right. Which doesn't make any fucking sense. It's just posturing.
Right.
At this point, brawn is, I mean, sure, there's need for like brawn for like athleticism and stuff like that, for exercising, and like I'm not saying there are not benefits. Right. But there is a lot more benefit to taking that part of yourself as a man and also being allowed to feel emotions too.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't make you gay. It doesn't make you a woman. It doesn't make you feminine. Like,
it makes you a human being.
It makes you a human being. And that brings me to one of the other questions I asked a lot of the women I talked to was, what's your definition of toxic masculinity? Because we hear that one all the time.
It gets used and almost certainly misused a whole shitload.
Right. But the way I view it is it's that stuff. You don't cry. Stop crying. It doesn't hurt that bad. Just pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and you'll be fine. Right?
Right.
You don't talk about your problems. You're a man. We don't do that. And there are some things that we are taught from birth.
Sure.
Inherently.
Yeah.
That just...
We being dudes.
Right. We being dudes. Right.
Right.
That we are taught to have less emotion, to show less emotion, to, are you some kind of girl or something? Stop crying.
Right.
It's like, I feel like every guy has heard that at one point in their life.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You know, and
even if your parents weren't the type of people to do that, somebody else somewhere was.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. You know, the responses I got from the women I polled were basically that. It's like this idea that you're not allowed to feel, that you're not allowed to communicate your feelings and your emotions and stuff like that. And I feel like the reason it is called toxic masculinity is because women are getting tired of that shit.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I mean, like, ultimately, it's just bad for everybody involved.
Is.
It's psychologically bad for the people who are repressing their shit. You know, it is bad for the people in their lives who have to deal with them improperly expressing their repressed shit.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, everything about it is just nightmarish for everyone.
Right. It doesn't make anything any better.
The dudes who are acting like this are fucking tortured because they don't have any kind of, like, healthy outlet for this shit, but they will never, ever, ever admit it.
Right.
You know what I mean? They will deny that they are in fucking pain.
Right. So they can just appear to be strong.
Right.
I saw a commercial recently where there's this guy in the gym and he's on he's got a weight bench and he's bench pressing and he's got the bar sitting on his chest and he obviously can't push it up anymore.
Yeah.
And the guy comes up behind him and he's like, "Yo, man, you need a spot?"
Yeah.
He's like, "No, I'm good. Just give me a minute. I'll figure it out."
I saw this
right?
one. I managed to actually see this commercial.
And it's that commercial is heartbreaking because it's so accurate. You know, as men, as boys, a lot of us are taught to just box that shit up,
right?
Put it aside,
right?
Because that's weakness,
right?
You know what I mean? And then
like
we carry that shit with us, and then we take it out on people that don't deserve it,
right? and like, don't get me wrong, like, there are definitely situations where there's a time and a place. And
absolutely,
there are situations where you have to have the skill to box that shit up and put it away for a little while, right? Like, I'm not saying that those situations don't exist, but on the reversal of that is you also need to have the skills to unbox that shit.
Of course.
You know, process it when it's the appropriate time, box it up when you need to, bring it out when you have a place to do so, and then process that shit and deal with it.
Compartmentalize, but then process.
Right.
Like, my little sister is a therapist. We've had her on the podcast before. She had mentioned that there are a lot of times where she's dealing with a man in therapy that will start crying, and that, what am I doing? I'm not gay. Let me,
Whoa!
It's like,
what?
But you're in therapy, though.
You're right.
That's
like, bro, this is the space where you're supposed to do that shit. If not anywhere else, if nowhere else ever, here.
Right.
That is the space to do that shit.
And even then, that type of mentality is carried through.
Right.
And think about what that does to a person.
Right.
We already have plenty of evidence about what happens when you bottle emotions and don't deal with them. don't address them, right? That shit bubbles to the surface.
Sure.
And you got like the Mentos and Diet Coke thing, you know, bam.
Sure. Yeah.
You explode on somebody
Right.
that does not deserve it, likely.
Right.
Or multiple people that don't deserve it.
Right.
You know, and then you have...
And in a lot of those cases, it's fucked up to say that you're lucky if it's just emotionally explosive instead of violently explosive.
Exactly. Look at Ethan Crumbley, I believe is his name, the kid who shot up the Oxford schools not long ago in our state, really close to us. That was really weird. That was really weird being that close. We had done something on that. I'm not going to go too far into it. But I read an article the other day talking about he had been telling his apparently there was like some of his friends or something were interviewed, or some people that knew him. And he had been on record talking to them about how he had told his parents that he was having thoughts. He was having emotional problems.
Sure.
Grow up. Be a man. Okay. This is what you get.
Right.
When you do stuff like this.
Right.
So like documentaries like, you know, The End of Men from Tucker Carlson, you're just making the shit worse for everybody so that you can try to like overcompensate.
You know, the thing that's the wildest to me about this shit is you have dudes that are like fucking Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro and like all these conservative wonks who are not even close to their own ideal.
No way.
Like, by far,
there's
like,
a reason Tucker Carlson isn't in his own trailer.
Right. By their ideal, like, my pudgy fat ass is more masculine than them just by virtue of the fact of like I do a fucking manual labor job and have a beard.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's the part that's the most mind-boggling to me about this is like those guys would really like fit well in a metrosexual world. You know what I mean? Like where that I don't even know if we even still use that word anymore.
I used it earlier in the podcast.
I know you used it earlier,
seems like
but
testicle tanning to me would be like falling under metrosexual.
Sure,
I do not pay that much attention to my balls.
Right. But like it's just weird to me that like dudes who are by far not even close to the epitome of whatever this like standard is that they're trying to like bring us back to.
Right.
Are the ones like don't like honestly what it really comes down to at this point is like stop projecting your insecurities onto the rest of us.
That's what it is. Right there. Say it again for them.
Stop projecting your insecurities onto the rest of us.
That's what it comes down to.
I'm not caught up in this shit, so I don't have to do this like hyper performative masculinity shit because you know I don't meet up to my own standards of what a real man should be. Right. Like that's really what it feels like.
Right.
Is like it is just performance art.
Right. I'm not going to go tanning my balls because I can't deadlift 300 pounds. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
That's not my thing. I don't care that I can't deadlift 300 pounds. I'm fine with who I am.
I mean,
and the things I'm not fine with, I change.
I'm probably too old to be trying to deadlift 300 pounds.
Yeah, don't do that.
That'll throw out my back.
We'll do that for the TikTok. Oh, that would be great. A big part of this, too, is definitely, and we've mentioned it, how we're raising our kids.
Sure.
Right? One of the women I had talked to said specifically that she had an incident where her son wanted to buy a purple bike helmet or something like that. And because it was purple, her father, the boy's grandfather, told him, like, and I'm paraphrasing, but don't buy the purple one. You're not a fag.
Yeah, I was just I was just gonna say like don't be a faggot. You know what I mean? Like I how did I know that was coming?
That's the worst part. Is you
how
can
did I know that was
shit.
coming?
It's like what's wrong with liking purple?
Right.
Men are wearing pink all the time now.
Especially since fucking purple is the lesbian color on the gay flag anyway.
Right.
What's the problem?
I mean, I'm seeing giant NFL players wearing pink to podiums.
Sure.
Right? Go up and tell that defensive lineman that he's gay for wearing pink. I dare you.
Right.
Please.
Right.
Please.
Do it.
And you know what? There's one on the Oakland Raiders who is gay.
Well,
go tell him that,
sure.
please, because I want to see him wreck you.
You know, the thing is I'm sure if you actually dig deep enough, you can find footage of Tuck or Ben Shapiro or whoever of these fucking talking heads wearing a pink shirt at some point.
I'm sure. Because they don't dress themselves. The makeup designers, the people behind the scenes do it.
Sure.
They walk into a show looking, or the network headquarters or whatever, looking shabby as fuck, I'm sure.
Right.
And then they go sit for 2 hours in makeup.
Right.
Covered in makeup.
Oh, dude, you were drinking a lot last night, weren't you? Let's put you in this pink shirt so that hopefully your red shows a little bit more instead of the pasty white.
Yep. There was
something. I don't know how color works.
I personally had an incident where my son went to go buy a charm necklace.
Okay.
And someone told him to buy a thicker chain as opposed to the thin one that he was going to buy. He had one picked out.
Yeah.
And it was a thinner chain.
Sure.
And someone told him,
get
buy a thicker one. It's more masculine.
Right.
And I wasn't there. Thankfully, because, oh, man. But I did everything I could to remain calm. But loosely, like, paraphrasing, if you ever tell my son something like that again, you won't ever have him unsupervised.
Right.
That is the most unevolved shit that I can think of to teach my fucking child.
I mean, like, the angle I would have gone with it would have been, like, go with a thicker one because it'll hopefully be more robust.
Right. But
you know, because I know you and your kid fucking get into wrestling and shit all the time. So like you're gonna want to have something that's not gonna just snap like a twig.
Well, maybe you want the one that's gonna snap like a twig.
Or maybe you do. You know, I mean,
my whole point with that was this was the one he had picked out.
Yeah.
And the reasoning to not get the one, he didn't get that one because, again, I wasn't there. If I was there, he'd have bought that thin one or I'd have bought it for him.
Right.
But
because who fucking cares?
Right. But that was the thing, is he had something picked out that he liked, just like the boy with the bike helmet. Had one picked out that he liked and was told, don't buy this because gay.
Right.
Because not masculine enough.
Right.
Who the fuck are you, overcompensating guy?
Right.
Like,
and that's really it. I swear to God, all of these dudes are just so compensating so hard. Because it's always these dudes who don't fit the mold that they're trying to present to the world as the ideal to begin with.
Right.
Always. Always. Fucking Ben Shapiro's short as shit. You know he's insecure as fuck about that stuff.
Can't make his wife's vagina wet.
At all.
Right? At all.
To the point where she's like talking about shit being fucking like diseased if it does get wet so that like he doesn't feel bad.
Right.
Like
exactly. Protect that fragile male ego.
Right.
My God. Don't project your insecurities on other people.
Right.
Deal with them in a healthy manner. Get yourself a therapist.
Get a therapist.
Okay?
Go to therapy.
Go to therapy. Get your shit worked out.
And also, your wife is not your therapist.
And right. Your wife is not your therapist. She is not clinically paid or trained to deal with that shit. And even if she is, that's a conflict of interest. Go find a therapist that's not your wife.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying your wife couldn't do it, but don't. Right? You need someone that's impartial. You need someone that doesn't know anything. Like, the thing about a good therapist is they can remove emotion from all of the situation. They don't have to feel it the way you do.
Right.
They can help you, like, understand it without having to feel it.
Right.
That's why therapy is important. Like, emotions make things messy.
Yes.
But you still have to feel them. That is not a choice you are given.
Right.
You can suppress it all you want, but they're going to come back.
It's going to fucking wreck your brain.
You do not get that choice. Right? And if you don't feel them, maybe, unfortunately, you end up causing violence in a school. You end up causing violence to other people.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're hurting the people around you. You're destroying your children's psyche because of some insecurity that you're projecting.
And those people are always going to be the ones who are sitting there talking about how horrible of a monster these people are that went and did some kind of, heinous act of violence like that. All of the people who are, repressing their own shit, guaranteed are sitting there turning around and talking about this person's a monster, while they're repressing their own shit and just creating the conditions that could potentially make them the exact same thing.
More and more and more overcompensation. Make sure everybody knows that that's not me.
Mm-hmm.
But it is you. Everybody has emotions. Get a therapist.
Right.
Deal with them. And for the love of God, Tucker Carlson, just don't. Because if you release this documentary,
I mean,
you're already getting ripped to shreds, dude.
Look.
Take the hint. just do it. I swear.
I mean, look, if he had been like, let's just start being nudists, I'd have been like, okay, Tuck, weird take for you, but I'm not here for it. But he had to make it into some strange shit.
Yep. Tan balls. That's it. Tucker wants tan balls. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. This has been Deviance Welcome. You can check out more episodes and get access to the latest everything on the website, volatilepatients.com. There you can sign up for the mailing list and tell us what kind of topics you'd like to hear. Check out the sock meds if that's your thing, facebook.com/volatilepatientsmusic.
At VOLATYLPATIENCE on Twitter, spelled weird because Twitter did not give us enough characters.
Thank you, Twitter. And spelled correctly at volatile_patients on Instagram because Instagram did give us enough characters.
Yes, and also spelled correctly as one word on TikTok because TikTok gave us enough characters.
Check out the Deviance Welcome YouTube channel at Deviance Welcome or the Volatile Patients specific YouTube channel at Volatile Patients. Check out our Deviance Welcome Facebook group where you can continue the discussion with us. Remember to give us a review on Apple and don't project your insecurities on other people. And with that, we'll see you next week.
But if you want to tan your balls, like, do you?
And with that, we'll see you next week. Say bye to the people, Sal.
Bye, the people.
The show must go on.